In the early 18th century, a real war unfolded. Amidst a vast expanse of ice and snow, tens of thousands of Dzungar cavalrymen marched menacingly towards the border of the Russian Empire. The sight was overwhelming, stretching as far as the eye could see, instilling fear and dread across the entire Siberian plain. Not to mention a small fortress on the border, even the entire Russian Empire would be terrified and frightened by it. The root of this conflict lay with the greedy governor of central Siberia, Gagarin. One day, an envoy of Emperor Kanshi, Tulishin, arrived in Tobolsk. Tulishin bribed Gagarin heavily, hoping he could persuade the Tsar to wage war against the Dzungars, promising even greater rewards upon success. He then handed Gagarin a double tiger gold medallion symbolizing an alliance and a bag of gold. Gagarin agreed and traveled to St. Petersburg to convince the Tsar. However, when he proposed the idea of war against the Dzungars, the Tsar refused. Perhaps fearing the Mongol cavalry, the Tsar even berated Gagarin. Gagarin then bribed the queen with jewels and gold to help him deceive the Tsar. They lied to the Tsar, claiming they had discovered a gold mine in Dzungar territory and that the military expedition was merely a cover for a treasure hunt. After hearing his words, the Tsar's determination wavered, and he immediately sent only a few officers and a team of people to explore Yungar. Upon reaching Tobolsk, the officers began recruiting soldiers to form an army. Several Swedish prisoners of war also joined the expedition. Before leaving, Gagarin met with a Swede named John, and the two reached a secret agreement. Soon, the fleet loaded with soldiers set sail towards the Mongolian steppes. The fleet's commander had always dreamed of becoming the admiral of the Mongolian steppes. Not long after, they reached the border fortress of Kara, which alarmed the Dzungar border general, Zazin. He personally led his men to inspect the fortress. The Russian commander showed Zazin the fortress's defenses, expressing a desire for peaceful coexistence. That night, the Swedish prisoner John sneaked into the Dzungar camp and handed Zazin the double tiger gold medallion given by Gagarin. Seeing the medallion, Zazin mistakenly believed that Russia had allied with the Qing dynasty and decided to attack the Kara fortress. That night, the Dzungars ambushed and easily eliminated a Russian patrol. They captured the drummer and forced him to signal the opening of the fortress gates. However, the drummer, loyal to his duty, beat out a warning instead. The guards, initially unconcerned, finally realized the danger and rushed to close the gates and defend the fortress. Enraged by the failed plan, Zazin ordered the drummer's execution and had the Russian envoy's head thrown at the fortress gates. Panicked, the Russian defenders sent for reinforcements from Gagarin. When the supply convoy neared the fortress, it was intercepted by Zazin, and John's wife was among the captives. The Russian officers held a military council but were too afraid of the Dzungar cavalry to engage. A young officer named Ivan bravely infiltrated the Dzungar camp under the cover of fog. He captured Zazin, who was slaughtering prisoners, and forced him to release all captives. As Ivan tried to escape, John appeared. Unaware of John's betrayal, Ivan believed John was also a captive and lowered his guard. Zazin quickly overpowered Ivan, who was then beaten and thrown into a dungeon. Zazin, grateful for John's help, offered to trade a horse for John's wife. John refused. And an enraged Zazin threw him into the dungeon as well. The Dzungar Khan, having received the news, arrived with his army and besieged the Kara fortress. Seeing the double tiger gold medallion and learning it came from the Russian governor, the Khan was furious. He berated Zazin for his foolishness, realizing the medallion was a ruse to provoke war between the Dzungars and Russians. The Khan released Ivan, ordering the Russians to evacuate the fortress and never return. Zazin was punished for acting without orders, and the army prepared to leave. Furious at his punishment, Zazin decided to destroy the Russians. He tricked John into using cannons to blast open the fortress gates, promising to return his wife. Zazin, driven by personal vengeance, launched another attack on the fortress. Catching the Russians off guard, the Dzungars scaled the walls and eliminated the gunners. John turned the cannons on the fortress gates, blasting them open and detonating the powder magazine. Zazin led the cavalry charge into the fortress, intent on destroying everything in his path. The Russians, with no other choice, fought back fiercely. They cut the drawbridge and barricaded the gates with wagons. Officer Ivan organized the defense, using cannons to repel the advancing enemy. The battle raged on, with neither side gaining the upper hand. The Dzunger cavalry struggled in the confined space of the fortress. Zazin found himself surrounded, his situation dire. Suddenly, a horn blew, signaling a barrage of arrows that rained down indiscriminately. A Dzunger soldier lit a fuse, blasting a larger hole in the fortress gates. The cavalry outside charged in, and Zazin, enraged, sought out Ivan to kill him. John betrayed Zazin once more, turning the cannon on him. Zazin's men blew the retreat, realizing the futility of the battle with their leader dead. As the Dzunger cavalry withdrew, the surviving Russians burned the fortress and returned home. This real war between Russia and the Dzungars thus came to an end. Though not large in scale, it cost the Russian army dearly. Upon learning the truth, the Tsar ordered the execution of Governor Gagarin.